Uh, he's
Is
serviceable.
Noah Fant good?
Serviceable.
So let's start out with this. We just went live. What happened to Noah Fant today? Is he good? Is he somebody that you want to roster?
7 receptions on 9 targets for 87 yards as a tight end. He's tight end 6 without a touchdown. Yeah, he's pretty good. And his quarterback is Teddy Bridgewater. He's also
Teddy
an
Bridgewater's
athletic
good.
specimen. Teddy
So-
Bridgewater is horrific.
I don't think he's horrific. There's a big issue with Teddy Bridgewater, though. And let me just say this because it was
his talent.
No. This was majorly evident. This was majorly evident on whole different levels when it came to this past week. And it's the fact that he does not know when or how to backpedal and to escape to his weak side. And it was majorly evident this week because all they did was bring coverage to the front side. They left his backside wide open the entire time. And now teams are going to know. No, he's very mobile and he actually has wheels. If you watched him last year, he actually did have multiple weeks where he picked up over 30 yards rushing and he was good at running. But what happened was teams blitzed him off the edge, right? And they created pressure off the edge. Now they don't even bring pressure to his backside because he always fades forward. He's afraid to get hit from behind. And now we're sitting there and we're watching Teddy Bridgewater not be able to know when to backpedal because he's too afraid to do it. And he will not escape to the left. And I think teams are going to start to take advantage of that. And we saw it prime this week with the entire Raiders offense line constantly blitzing to the side that he sees defenders coming because he's afraid to run to the outside. Is this something that we're going to see, moving forward from other teams? Or do you think Teddy Bridgewater has the ability to escape through the back? We're going to start with Jordan on this.
I think it is a potential trend that you could see against him. The Raiders really deployed that successfully and rattled his cage. My opinion on him is kind of echoing on your point. He also kind of doesn't have the ability to drive the ball down the field for a lot of those same reasons. He kind of doesn't look fully set when he throws, like a lot of guys. And he doesn't have that arm talent like a Rodgers or a Stafford, one of those guys with a gun who can just sling it off the side and not have it matter.
Or a Heineke.
Or a
Bridgewater
Heineke.
has no arm.
Yep. I think it is absolutely something you could see them do. Denver's extremely limited with him, and if they let DC's pick up trends and patterns on Teddy, it's over.
I feel very similar to that. Sorry if you guys heard my dog barking; he's going crazy. Yeah,
sure. Probably because you're talking about Bridgewater.
I mean, how do you feel about Bridgewater, Thomas?
How PG do we have to be? He almost single-handedly ruined DJ Moore. I want nothing to do with him. He's like, okay, what is he? In the 6-point touchdown, he's quarterback 22 or 24 right now.
He got hurt. He got hurt.
Reasons. He's terrible. Awful. You can put him with Baker as forgettable quarterbacks I never want to play in fantasy.
Yeah, I mean, look at what Carolina's doing with the guys that he left. I mean, Darnold looks reborn.
All Darnold needs is to not have 12 drops in a game, and he'd be fine.
Helpful.
I couldn't believe that. I couldn't believe that. I counted at least 9. And then if they weren't official drops, there was at least 13 horrifically misplayed balls by Carolina pass catchers. I wanted to barf.
Well, keep in mind,
Teddy Bridgewater, that whole game was nasty.
Yeah. All right, so let's go ahead and dive into this. Welcome on to Chasing Points, y'all. We are going to be reviewing this week and what happened in a very quick fashion. We all have important things to do, of course. We have things to accomplish. And Jordan, I'm glad that you're not in your basement or whatever that cell that you were kept in back a month ago when you came on the show. We're joined by Jordan. What's going on, Jordan? How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. I've migrated above ground and have left the refugee camp known as the storage unit I was in. So, yeah.
All right. And Thomas, man, glad to see you again for the second time today. We had our pregame show, of course, where we talk about starter sits over there on Fantasy Intervention. That's youtube.com/Fantasy Intervention. Glad to have you. And Thomas, how was your day?
Well, I lost the home league, or at least I'm going to lose the home league because I still have to play against Derrick Henry, but the Baltimore Ravens not only won, absolutely pumped the Chargers. So at the end of the day, that's right. I'll take that. And I want to say this: Bateman, he looked good. He dropped the one ball that led to the pick, but he had 4 targets, 5 targets, caught 3 of them, 37 yards. Kind of
It
what
was
I
like
expected
21
from him.
yards. It was like 21. Get out of here with Rashad Bateman trash. Let's go ahead and dive into this week. We have some quarterbacks. I mean, overall, all right. So real quick, before we get started actually on this, was there anybody that was a stud that outperformed their projection this week? Like
Well,
we had Jonathan Taylor who had some late work, right? We had Joe
Cup.
Mixon, Cook. I don't even know if I can consider him a stud, but sure we can go with Cook. We had Cooper Kupp, but overall this was a very
Cooper Kupp.
disappointing week, right?
Yeah. For the
I mean-
for the highlighters, for the headliners rather.
When Don Peoples-Jones is like the 3rd, 4th, 5th like overall receiving wide receiver on the week, and it wasn't even the fact that he had volume necessarily. Like he had a good week last. Like if this week would apply to last week, it would have been average, right? Or it would have been above average, but not great. It was a very disappointing week overall. So, I mean, with that being said, like, is there anybody that outperformed your expectations?
Noah Fant.
Yep. Right on cue. As we started the show, he should have scored a
90,
touchdown.
97 yards and a touchdown. So there you
Khalil
go.
Herbert
Noah
killed it
Fant.
for me today. I was in a tough spot, had to start him, but I felt good about it. And
that's tight end 1
he
Noah
got-
Fant.
he got the work done. Let's do it. TE1 Noah Fant.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Other guy that surprised me was Waddle. Just, I mean, getting 13 targets is incredible. He's really kind of starting to come into his own, in my opinion.
I mean, he did that 2-3 weeks ago. Like,
What's
it went for
what's
50
again
yards.
again frustrating with Waddle is that on those 10 receptions, he got 70 yards. They once again went, hey, we're going to give you these targets and receptions, but I swear if you go more than 7.5 yards, I will bench you. So that's it. That's all.
Well, I mean, Juju Smith-Schuster's
go
out,
down.
so somebody has to fill that role for the NFL, you know?
Yeah, for the entire NFL. The guy who
Yeah.
catches no, passes for no yards, essentially. But I mean, honestly, like they have an ideal for
AJ
Waddle.
Green.
Yeah.
I want to talk about
big guy.
AJ Green a little bit.
We will. But for right now, let's focus on Waddle for 1 second, because Waddle's somebody that people are going to have on the edge of the rosters. Some people will end up having it on waivers. So let's cover this real quick, especially since it is Dynasty. Is Waddle something that you want to move off of in Dynasty, or something that you want to hold on to based off of previous weeks? Do you think you can sell him high at this point? What do you think you can get for him? Like let's throw out a trade real quick. So let's say you get Cortland Sutton and a 2nd round pick as an offer for Jalen Waddle if you have him. What are you thinking?
I'm keeping
Tyler's over here. He's
Waddle.
like, when Watson comes in, that will be great.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah, but when Watson goes to Denver, Sutton will be the GOAT. No, I don't know. I don't think I would move him for that because I don't have a reason to move him for that. Right? Like Sutton's great, but what is the 2nd round pick going to do for you? So the only way I'm trading Waddle if this is really advantageous to me. Maybe. Or you get, I don't know, insert Trey Sermon. That's a great 2nd round pick, guys. But if you're not gaining like if you work in tiers, right? If you're not moving up a significant tier or two, trading Waddle after a game like that, there's no point to do it. The only thing that's held him back is Jacoby Brissett and an injury. So yeah, I'm fine with this. Totally fine. Look, if you're not trading Deontay Johnson, right? You're not trading Waddle.
Yeah.
They're playing the same role and producing the
Great
same
comparison.
way. Yeah, they're playing the same way. So if you're not trading Deontay Johnson for that, which I mean I would because I don't like Deontay Johnson, but Waddle has that ceiling we haven't seen yet.
All right,
I might ship him for a Khalil Herbert and a pick.
Wait, what?
I might ship him for a Khalil Herbert and a pick.
Stop.
He's trying to get on Tyler's good side.
So let's go ahead and let's real quick. Let's review position by position and see if there's anybody that's anything of a shock or anything that we want to make moves on. I mean, Kirk Cousins once again had a good week. He's had doubts, but he was the quarterback 1 in at least 6 point per passing touchdown quarterback leagues. Is this something as to where 2 quarterback leagues you should make a move for Cousins? Yes or no?
You should have already had him, but I mean, the only time you don't want to play Cousins in a primetime game because death taxes and Kirk Cousins throwing up a donut. You should be going and getting him. You should have went and got him weeks ago. The offense is a good offense, and the Vikings defense is not very good. They'll always be in games where they need to score. He is the like Kirk Cousins, Derek Carr are the two like number 2 quarterbacks in Superflex leagues that I want all the time because they're affordable and they will produce for you.
Mm-hmm.
Because Derek
And they
Carr
don't get a
did it
lot of
again.
and they don't do a lot of the 4 and 5 interception games that will absolutely take you out of a match. That floor is pretty consistent with them.
They're not
and
they're not Baker
Cousins,
Mayfield, yeah.
yeah, and I mean Cousins has shown his ceiling is QB1 on the week. Like he can sling it as much as obnoxious as he is. That offense is built for him, and he's got guys like Thielen and Jefferson and Cook, who's a pass catching back, and those guys in the backfield are no joke. So they really have to respect what Kirk can do with his talent.
QB 11, 19, 13, 6, 5, and 10 in his career. They're like, yeah, go and get him. And Thielen's a baller. Jefferson's a baller.
Mm-hmm.
Osborne, baller. So,
dude, he looks so good this week. We'll talk about that here in a second. Of course. With the injury to Gibson, right? Gibson, dude, that was really disappointing, especially for me because I thought Gibson was going to go off this week. It was a perfect situation. And then it was like the second or third drive, Gibson got hurt. Like he already was hurt, obviously, with the fracture to his shin. It does not look good for Gibson. He played off adrenaline, I think, for the first few drives after that, but then really didn't see the field following. Is Gibson something to really be concerned about? And should you move off of Gibson? Are you still willing to hold on to him, especially after McKissick's performance? McKissick looked good. It wasn't good for Washington, obviously, because they should never be passing the ball this many times. But what was it? 8 receptions, 65 yards. What are we thinking over here with McKissick and with Gibson?
If there was somebody in your league that still loves Gibson, trade him.
Whoa.
Yeah, because I don't think look, and here's why. With everything that they have in place there, they're clearly comfortable rolling out other running backs to catch the ball, which is again what we want from our running backs. And now you have to hope that Gibson puts up 20 plus carries, scores once or twice, and ends up with 3 receptions. Right? So take out what we love about him and take out his touchdown, like his big touchdown games, and kind of even that out to variance. He's not as impressive as a fantasy option. If somebody out there loves him still, like loves him, go and get an upgrade personally.
Leverage that.
Like I still love him as like I like him as a player. If I have him, I still want to have him, but I'm not relying on him to be this breakout top 10 dynasty running back right now. I'm just not. He just doesn't look like the player or doesn't look like he's going to get the chance to be the player that fantasy managers love. So for me, if I can, I'm trying to move on.
Yeah,
right.
For me, go ahead, Jason.
No, I agree, but like Gibson, like is still he's a game breaker, right? He's somebody that should actually be a major part of this offense.
But he's consistently held back. They love McKissick for some reason, and they drafted another guy that can go out and catch passes too. So it's really hard to really believe in Gibson's overall ceiling. It looks bleak. That's just
right.
like I said, maybe you're the person that likes to go and trade for him at this all-time low. There's this perfect situation where two things can meet perfectly in the middle.
So DeAndre Swift got people really nervous, including myself, right? Because I study this dose score, right? The dump off containment efficiency score. And DeAndre Swift was supposed to go ham this week. And I talked to one of my buddies. He watched the whole game. I still have to break down the game. And I have to figure out what the hell happened because, I mean, he was sitting with nothing. He was sitting with almost nothing up until the last drive of the game. The last drive of the game, the Bengals went to prevent defense. I mean, did you guys watch the game first off? Was this something as to where DeAndre Swift needs to be, like, we need to take a deeper look at his role? Or is this something as to where, like, you're not worried about it?
Look, it's still the Detroit Lions. So there's going to be rough instances, right? Only 13 carries. He only had 24 yards. The Bengals defense has not been terrible, But he, like you said, it doesn't in fantasy football. It doesn't matter if it's garbage time or the first quarter. All that matters is that it happened, and Swift always has that 2-minute warning, garbage time dump off possibility. He's still safe to expect a 14+ point PPR stat line season long, in my opinion. Was he saved by a touchdown? Sure. But in fantasy, that doesn't really matter as long as it happens.
Right. I think that's a perfect sort of comp for him. It's like expectation, excuse me. I think it's a perfect expectation for him. I've tried to move him in several leagues, specifically to the Jamal Williams owners, trying to get them to double up. I think it pulls their floor up a little bit, but nobody's bit yet. I'm trying to move off of him and have him because I can spare running back, but that's a tough call. It's something to monitor. It is the Lions. They have more of a history of ruining A-level talent than they do of winning. So that's troublesome for me.
I'm not moving off of him. I want more of him. I want more of him because this offense won't always be stagnant with Goff, right? They should improve, and he looks like a baller every time he's on the field.
All right, so John sent me this over here on Twitter, right? He sent me this over on Twitter. I'm like, yo, come join the chat. Make sure you hit subscribe, by the way, John, please. That'd be amazing. Make sure you hit subscribe, follow, show us some support. But yeah, so he's in a bind because he's shooting for one of the last 2 playoff spots based on points scored in bottom half, and he has Collins tonight or AJ Brown. And this is tough because AJ Brown's dealing with a sickness, and we loved AJ Brown prior to the week starting. To an extent. I mean, I was still nervous about him, but Thomas especially was gung-ho, but now he has an illness that popped up. So do you go with Collins against the Steelers, who, by the way, the Steelers are dominant? And, I mean, I think it really depends. John, can you actually send us what your projections are supposed to be as we go through this and we kind of dissect it? Because I think your projections are going to be very, very important as to where we decide to go with this. If it's something as to where, like, hey, your projections are close, we might opt to go with Collins, but I kind of want to know where you sit. With that being said, Jordan, let's start out with you. Where are you sitting with this one?
I'm going with Alex Collins. I know what I've gotten for 5 weeks from AJ Brown, which has been a festering bowl of dog snot, which is nothing. So I'm going with Collins. It's not the best play in the world. This is, I mean, John, yeah, you are in a tough spot here. I know that Alex Collins is not dealing with an injury, and I know that Alex Collins is not dealing with a sickness. So for that alone, and he's guaranteed more touches, more likely as a running back, I'm going with him.
15 carries and 3 targets against the Rams for a whopping 9.2 fantasy points. No thanks. Look, John, if you're gonna be close and you just need, that little bit to help seal it, sure, I would play Collins. If there's any risk of you losing this game by 8 or 10 points, I am playing AJ Brown. At least with AJ Brown, what you can do is if he is out, you can go and get a Chester Rodgers. You can go and get a McNichols, another player, right, to help probably put up the same points as Collins has the same kind of shot to put up against the Steelers defense with Geno Smith. I would still look to play AJ Brown personally because I never play for the floor, and sometimes that bites you. But that's the thrill of it all.
John, like I said, the best situation you could do is actually put your matchup in the chat. Let us know what you're projected to do versus what we would like to do. But let's go ahead and hop on to this next section real quick.
Ooh, Cowboys seal it.
Oh, do they? They would. All right, So let's hop over to wide receivers. Donovan Peoples-Jones is somebody who tends to break out from time to time. Is he somebody that you're looking to pick up off of waivers this week, or somebody who you just want to just let him sit and let things happen? Because, I mean, Odell Beckham's not it. He is not the dude. And for some weird reason, this is the weirdest thing in the entire world. I'm not talking about just for actually Odell, right? I'm talking about for all of Baker's passes. For some reason, they are better when Odell is off the field versus on the field, and I don't know why. I have no idea why this happens. It is so bizarre to me that Baker Mayfield is actually more accurate when Odell is not on the field. to all of his wide receivers, and it's not even close. Like, why
He
is this
gets cold feet.
happening? What's yeah, but
Well-
why is he accurate when
Well,
Odell's not on the field?
Look, Baker's just not a great fantasy option at quarterback.
We're
So
moving on from
the-
Baker. We're
the
talking
idea,
about
listen. The idea of any Browns wide receiver being a sustainable fantasy option is kind of null and void. The only one that was Jarvis Landry when he was healthy. If you're really being honest with yourself, Peoples-Jones looks like the best receiver on their roster. So he's at least worth a pickup. He does when he has the ball in his hands. He can break tackle. He literally made, I think it was Alford, look like a toddler when they run across the living room and slap their head against the table and fall over. That is what he looked like, and Peoples-Jones bowled him over. A toddler
That's
smacking
great.
into a wall. He's
great.
physical. He can catch on the sidelines. He has speed.
Yep.
I think that when they move on from Odell in the offseason, which I think they for sure will, I think they can move on from Landry as well. Peoples-Jones is a player you need to pick up and put at the end of your bench.
Absolutely agree.
And he's earning targets, and Higgins is kind of trash too. So
6'2", 200 pounds. He's played at Michigan, so he's used to talent. I mean, the guy's a stud.
Okay, I disagree with this statement let me pull it up for a second. I'll tell you why.
Wait, what's the statement? It's Baker was without both offensive tackles, Landry, Hunt, Chubb. Baker should be in the Cousins and Carr area, which essentially is saying like he should be better, like he should have to pass essentially, but you still have a bunch of risk. You still have a lot of risk.
He definitely should be, but Baker Mayfield quarterback 18, 18, and 16. I don't care about Baker Mayfield at his price.
All right, so now that we're not talking about quarterbacks.
Yeah, Dynasty, that's what I mean. In Dynasty, I agree completely. I wouldn't want him at his price. I will never have him at his price. People still love him and view him as that high end. I don't see it.
All right, so what do we do with KJ Osborne? He had limited targets. He was 3-for-4 for 97 and a touchdown. What do we do with Osborne? Because like he is on and off every. I'm sorry, he was 6 for 7. I apologize. 6 for 7 for 78 and a touchdown. I was looking at Henry Ruggs numbers. So is this a guy that we can depend upon like from week to week to get volume? I mean, like Cook can't stay healthy. Like, what do we do with KJ Osborne?
Flex.
Well,
flex
here's the problem. 14 points, 20 points, 19 points, but he had 4.6, 6.6, and 4.4 the 3 previous weeks against decent matchups, Seattle, Cleveland, Detroit.
And he did have 7 targets against Cleveland, so it's like he was getting them.
He's one of those players that if you need a bye week injury start, you can play him, but other than that, I'm not into him.
He's a fine wide receiver 3. Sure. I mean, if you got him, roll him out there. He's in your flex spot. If you're relying on him to
most weeks, right?
Yeah, if you're relying on him to win you games, you're screwed. I mean, there's no way around it. He's not going to win you the games. Good floor player, but
all right.
I think he's an emergency play at best.
Yeah, and in Dynasty, I think he's a hold. See what happens with Minnesota's wide receivers in the offseason. I think he's the talent there, but he's a small wide receiver. So,
all right. So we saw week 3, week 4, week 5, right, where he gave you nothing. He's not a roster clock for you guys. Like he's not somebody that's going to end up just ruining your bench because like you hold on to him for too long, or is this something else where you have to hold him and see what happens?
Well, part of the problem is why you have to hold him is because there's 15 players either on IR or bye weeks right now for pretty much everyone. So chances are, if you have him, you're not really having your roster clogged unless you still have 2 IR spots, right? Which would be an abomination of league manager, like manager of the league. So you kind of are forced to have right now. You might even be able to move him for like a 3rd or 4th round pick, which would be a plus for me personally.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I mean, the other guys you're pushing them around and the tier with is like, I mean, Cole Beasley, Tyler Boyd right now. I mean, Boyd's on the downside, right? But Boyd has shown it, at least in the past. I don't know. I mean, if you've got him on your roster, you're playing him as a flex, you're probably not playing him at all. There's nobody you're going to choose to play him over on your team. And if you do, then that person's droppable.
Who would you rather have right now? KJ Osborne or Robert Woods?
Trees.
I mean, he went right back to the stage he was at prior to, right? Like, I mean, why is it so much out of question? I mean, dude, KJ Osborne's had 3 weeks this season out of 6 that have been through the roof. Robert Woods has said 1, right? 1. I mean, wait.
I mean, the goats.
Can we have Tyler check the data real quick? Like, real quick, Tyler. How many weeks could you start Tyler Woods? I mean, I'm sorry, Robert Woods so far this season. I just want to check, like, as we're talking about it.
5.
It's 2?
You could start him 5 weeks.
So we've got 12.4, 12, 6.8, 14.8, 27, and 11.1.
Yeah, he's been fine. Cooper Cup's just the GOAT, and people got to realize and recognize.
Listen
to the Coops one cup.
I'm just kidding, of course. I'm being a troll at this point. You called it right off the bat, Jordan. All right, one more person
trees.
I want to talk about is like I want to talk about a tier, and I want to talk about some waiver wire pickups that could possibly happen this week. Very briefly, I don't want to dive too much into it, but I want to bring up Jamal Agnew. I want to bring up Alan Lazard. I want to bring up Quez Watkins. Out of these 3 players, if they're on your waivers, are you picking any one of these guys up? Let's just say they're in a shallow dynasty league, not crazy shallow. Let's say 24 players, right? Are you sitting there wanting to invest in any one of these younger guys outside of Lazard in hopes that they could actually become something in one of these offenses? Once again, that's Agnew, Lazard, and who was the other one I said?
Watkins.
Yeah, Quez Watkins.
Quez is the only guy that I would commit more than like 3 fab for. And even still, like, I might push 5 because I likely have him already. But if you're not, if you don't, like, if he is on your waiver wire, he's at least worth like a 4 or 5 fab because Rieger's not it. I think it's pretty clear to see every time he misplays a ball or drops one that he's not it.
You're making
Quez
blush,
actually
dude.
has at least Quez has like a 1 touch and go possibility where he's worth it. The other guys like Lazard, I think I've seen enough from him to know that I don't really want to hold him. He is, to me, a roster clogger. Like, his big play was a shovel pass on like the 3-yard line. I don't care. They're all worth 1 fab bids because, again, everyone's on IR and everyone's on bye weeks, so you need playable bodies. Then sure. But for Dynasty, I think we've seen, and Agnew is a career kick returner that Urban Meyer is using because he couldn't draft Tony. So I don't know. I think you're chasing points if you go after them. Thank you.
What the hell is happening to the tight end position?
Roll credits. What is happening to it? The same thing that it always happens. Like
this is not the same.
And elite, and then a bunch of weird stuff.
Wait. Yeah. Which elite tight ends did something this week?
Well, Kelsey still put up 21.
TE1 Noah Fant.
Tight end 1 Noah Fant. I mean, Mark Andrews
27
did his
fantasy
thing.
Points.
20.3.
Kelsey did his thing.
Hawk 19.4. Like that's all what you're
not dead yet. OJ Howard.
Mike G. I came out of nowhere because Parker wasn't playing. So yeah, I don't know. The same thing. It's like names that you expect in that top 8. Names you expect in that top 8, and then a bunch of like sprinkled in. Why are you still here, bro? Although Schultz has been a baller all year. So.
Schultz and Knox are the 2 surprises for me at tight end this year. I mean, Knox not totally a tight end. I really liked him as one of those like also ran guys in the middle of the pack that I could get value out of a tight end, and it's paying off. Volume leaves something to be desired, but he's proving his value in the red zone that can't be matched. He's stealing touchdowns from the rest of the Buffalo wide receivers. So he's a guy that I really looked to kind of acquire in leagues where I can wrangle him loose from any manager.
God, but I mean, all right, so Kelsey did something, right? And it was at the tail end of the game during garbage time for the most part. And it should have been garbage time for Washington, but somehow it still became garbage time for the Chiefs. I don't know how.
He was hurt too. He was holding his hand. He was not 100%.
Very tail end of the game. Yeah. But I mean, sitting there, look, Gesicki had a great game. I mean,
Gesicki's had a couple of big weeks.
He does that when Parker's out. And when Parker's in,
Mhm.
right, for the most part, he doesn't do much of anything. Gesicki's the type of player you just can't watch the box. I mean, I don't really want to watch the Dolphins play football anyway, but for fantasy purposes, he's just a guy you just put him in and just check at the end of the day. And you're either going to be really happy or
Totally.
really bummed. Yeah.
All right, so let's go ahead and,
Yep.
and finish out this episode. I want to talk about a player that should be on the trade block as it is as a top performer, but it might be the wrong time to trade him. However, in Dynasty, like this is where you either make or break like your entire rest of your next couple of years for a lot of cases. And that's Kareem Hunt, right? There's still believers in Kareem Hunt. For example, like I believed in Kareem Hunt all the way up until, what happened, and seeing him, pretty much limping off the field got me a little bit nervous, but I still believe that he's going to be a top end prospect. It's just like, I'm not going to end up paying the top price. Like, hey, early second round pick, I'll pay it all day. But for the most part, I'm going to sit there and look for, other players to acquire. And if I have Kareem Hunt, if somebody offers me a first round pick because they see him coming back, maybe Nick Chubb misses some time, I'm willing to move him. So Kareem Hunt, what is he, RB5 prior to this week? Where do you guys value him in dynasty leagues, and what are you willing to give up? What are you willing to take if you roster him?
Look, he's one of those weird players where I don't think I could take like 2 seconds for him, but I know I'm never going to get a 1. So like this was the game with Chubb being out that if he could have played through the whole thing and done well or even scored, I think was the time you could have maybe moved him for a 1 or an injured running back. So you could have put like Kareem Hunt
Cam
and
Akers.
player. No, like if you could have put Kareem Hunt and insert, I don't know, a receiver and gone and get a Montgomery, right?
Oh, sure. Yeah. Okay.
Injured. Sure, I would have been able to do that. I would have been super happy. I say that because I've seen it happen prior to this game. It happened last week. That's the type of move, shout out Big Billy, that I would have been looking to move after this game. However, the injury now, you're stuck holding on to him again.
Yeah.
And just hoping when he comes back, he can replicate some of that high-end value to move off of him in the offseason. Because he's under contract there. Like what you're seeing from him is what you're going to get. He right now he's an RB 22 to 24 for Dynasty. He's just not it.
There's no way you could get Cam Akers for him right now, right? Like it was before this game where you could have gotten Cam Akers, but not now.
Yeah. Yes,
I think that's what Jordan was saying. Like adding on to when I said like if this would have happened or you tried to do it last week, sure, you might have been able to do that for the manager that has Cam Akers, but now you're just stuck with Kareem Hunt, and it sucks because people really relying on him and what he was able to do with so many running backs going down. Now he just joins them, and it's sad. It sucks.
Yep. He almost becomes a major piece of the roster blockade because you don't know what to do with him anymore. Unless you can IR him, and that's it.
Exactly. That's it. Like you're kind of almost hoping he gets IR'd so you know that for 3 weeks you can move him and not have him take up a roster spot. Right. Yep. But it's and I think I said this before we went on air. This doesn't mean go and jump for Dearness Johnson because we saw that last year. Chubb and Hunt were gone, and Dearness Johnson was awful. Don't put all your eggs in that basket.
If anybody, it's Demetri Felton, who is a rookie since it is Dynasty, of course, and you want to invest your tokens in there. Meanwhile, you have Jarvis Landry, Odell Beckham moving on. Demetri Felton could actually move on to be the slot receiver over there, which,
Felton was lining up out wide, catching screen passes today.
That's
what you want. That's what you want in Dynasty, is a player that can do that. And they line him up at wide receiver from time to time already. Now you're going to give him an increased workload. Dearness Johnson ain't it. So Felton is definitely the guy.
All right, so the thing with Felton, right? Like he's very controversial, but overall, I feel like he could end up getting you there, especially after going on to.
Why is he controversial?
Because people don't want to roster this guy on the back end of your rosters because he does have a limited snap share.
Yeah, well, welcome to 10 IR spots, bruh. You need them. You gotta have them right now.
If you were part of Fantasy Points, though, you wouldn't even have an argument. Fantasy Points supports Demetri Felton. They 100% are on board with this if Kareem Hunt does end up missing time. Not only just because it's, taking over the role for Kareem Hunt, but Fantasy Points is 100% behind him being an asset in Dynasty, which is why you have to go check out Fantasy Points. It's absolutely like it's one of the best websites it's ever been part of.
Mm-hmm.
They've been writing articles about it all the time. Like literally, that's all they've been talking about on Twitter. You guys go check it out. And if you actually go sign up for their site, it's actually 21DHH10, right?
You want
Oh,
two
stop
dynasty?
it. Here he is. Here's Tyler. Oh, Tyler, you're ruining my thing by putting this thing up here. Like, no, if you guys go check out 21DHH10 over there on Fantasy Points, you guys will actually get a whole boatload of stuff, like a whole bunch of like, fun additives on there. Go make sure you guys check out Fantasy Points and use promo code 21DHH10, and you'll get 2 Dynasty buys of each one of us as an addition. I don't know what that means, but I'm going to go ahead and go with that.
Mm-hmm.
Give me 2 dynasty buys. So you want us to give you 2 players that you should be going out and buying a dynasty?
Oh, I thought he
Is
says
this
buying
what I'm
each one of
getting at?
us. No, he's buying each one of us twice. I'm pretty sure that's what he's saying.
Give me
No.
2 dynasty buys, each of you.
Of course not.
I'm just kidding. Of course, yes. Go on.
Okay, look. For me, I'm going to keep it real simple. Number 1 is Rashad Bateman. 6 targets, 4 receptions for 29 yards. The one went off his hands. He had 30-plus yards in front of him. Deep slant route. Sammy Watkins is hurt. That was his first game. I believe he saw 28 of the first 32 offensive snaps that the Ravens ran. Go and get him now before he does have a blow-up game. There's somebody out there that is disappointed with his performance. Number 2 is Elijah Mitchell, running back for the San Francisco 49ers. They were on bye week this week. Okay, it's clear that when he's healthy, he's the running back that they want to play out there. Trey Sermon is dog doo. He gets outsnapped by their fullback, Kyle Juszczyk. Go and pick him up. He was on bye week. Probably going to be able to get him for a reasonable price. I don't really care about Jeff Wilson. Those are 2 players that you should be able to get at a decently reasonable price for Dynasty that you can stash.
Okay. Jordan, go ahead.
Good. Well, he stole Bateman from me. That was a fantastic one, but I knew he was going to go there. Go Birds. So I'm just going to saddle up on my boy here, Khalil Herbert. I like what I've seen out of him in limited opportunities so far. I do not trust anything that's going on in Chicago, just like I do not trust a deep dish as a pizza. It's not real. And the people behind the scenes are just simply not preparing that right. So I think he's got all the talent in the world. Go and get him. Running backs, they're hard to come by. So go and snatch him up. On the wide receiver end, like I said, he took Bateman. The other guy who I may keep an eye on that, the talent pops, opportunity still needs to present itself a little bit, but he was on the field today. Diami Brown with the Washington no-names. It's going to be cheap. I'm not saying he's going to be a world beater, but I do see a lot of talent and opportunity coming along the lines for him. That's a team that has not had a number 2 wide receiver, more or less a number 1 wide receiver in a couple of decades. Until Terry McLaurin came along. So look for him in Dynasty, end of the season and next year.
I love that. All right, so I'm going to go with Tyree Jackson over there for the Eagles. Eagles like to use 2 tight end sets. Tyree Jackson's coming back from IR. Did he come back? Yeah, he's come back this upcoming week. He's somebody that shit off in the preseason. And by the way, when it comes to Dynasty, you would have to dive deep. Like I'm not going to give you guys players that you should trade for because I feel like everybody knows those players you should trade for. So I want to give you guys. Yeah, hey, guys. By the way, you should pick up DeAndre Swift. I'm just telling you, they're going to have a different quarterback. Their offensive line is going to be healthy, and he's going to be really good. No, I'm going to give you guys Tyree Jackson as somebody stashed in the back of the waivers. About this time 2 years ago, I gave you Logan Thomas, who was still free agent at the time he signed Washington. I was all on board right around June. I think Tyree Jackson could end up being that player this upcoming year. Dawson Knox was my player in 2020. So this year I'm giving you guys Tyree Jackson. I think he's going to be a stud, and I think that he has the speed along with the athleticism and length to make things happen if they're at the tight end position. As for the wide receiver position, it gets a little more difficult. It's like, hey, do you want to, put your like you want to impale like a take over there, or do you want to roster somebody that gives you some opportunity? And so I'm going to go AJ Dillon. I think his value's been dropping from the offseason.
I was so ready for you to say Colin Johnson.
I was thinking about
that
it.
Was
but
such a lead-in to troll right there, and I expected it. Well played, sir.
So yeah, no, all right. So we talked about it this morning. All right, there's two different types of dynasty players that you have. You have players who you want to root for, right? You have players that you want to be good, but you have nothing to back it up. Like he made a couple catches. He's tall, and he can win jump. Like that's not what I base my analysis off of. But I'm going to root for Colin Johnson the entire time. Colin Johnson is one of my favorite players to watch in the NFL, and I hope that he makes in the NFL. But is he somebody that I believe will make it? I think that's up to his work ethic and his ability to get in and out. There's multiple things, but a guy like Kadarius Toney, nobody else likes him, but I think that he has all the ability to make it. Regardless, let's throw that out the window. I'm going to go with A.J. Dillon, somebody that people are starting to sleep on, which you can trade probably a second-round pick for when the draft rolls around, or maybe a team wants to rebuild and you want to try to move, and they're like, hey, Jones is signed for another 2 or a year and a half. Well, he's technically signed for multiple years, but they can void the contract and move on. But every team's starting to move to a 2RB system. So I'm actually thinking that A.J. Dillon is somebody that you guys should offer a late second-round pick. If you're on a winning team, you want to make sure that you ensure that you have a RB1 towards tail end of the season, just in case somebody gets hurt, or you want to ensure your future. And I think A.J. Dillon is part of the future. They've already shown they want to evolve him. It's something as to where, I'm trying to acquire as much A.J. Dillon as humanly possible. So go A.J. Dillon. That's my dynasty acquisition.
I think especially in leagues where you may have a shot and you might have the other A.J. Aaron Jones. A.J. Dillon could be a good target to really give you some insurance down the long run. Go ahead, Thomas.
I want to piggyback off that and also add Jordan Love too. He should definitely be on your targets to go and get. Aaron Rodgers looks like he's just going out there to give a giant FU to Green Bay, and he's gone. Whether he retires or he takes off, go and get Jordan Love before he steps into a game.
Aaron Rodgers looks like an NBA player who's demanded a trade. It's just like angry
like
Carmelo angry Carmelo at the end of the Knicks era. He's just out there.
I think it was more like the end of the Nuggets era at that point.
Yeah, there you go.
Aaron Rodgers is gonna go somewhere else and inflict as much pain on the NFL as he can, and give a giant double bird to LaFleur the entire time. So
why not go acquire Aaron Rodgers?
Because Jordan Love is cheaper.
Is he though?
Yes.
Wherever Rodgers goes, you're gonna pay through the nose to get him.
Not even that. Just try and go get him now. No way. People held on to him from the whole I might retire thing. That they're just strapped on. They're hugging him. They're not letting him go.
Yeah, it's Marlo said in the wire, the price of the brick's going up on that one the minute Rodgers moves.
Right, because look at the legitimate places that Aaron Rodgers could go. Right, so Pittsburgh, Denver, Miami, where he has Washington, exactly. You think someone's gonna they're either gonna try to win a championship with him on the roster and have him retire and give him a send off, or they're gonna pick him up and he's gonna go somewhere with kind of better weapons, just dissing Adams. So it's good luck, but go get Love.
Adams is a free agent, right? Isn't he a free agent?
I think they're going to be a package deal, unless they franchise tag. I'm not sure if they can. I think they might be able to franchise him, but I don't know. I don't understand the franchise tag and how it works. It changes every year. I don't get it.
We'll talk about it later. All right, so let's go ahead and get out of here, guys. Let everybody know where to find you. We'll start out with Jordan.
Find me on Twitter at SantosLHelper83. Find all of my excellent work at Fantasy Intervention, and join our circle __ on Twitter. You can catch me every even week doing Chasing Points here on the lovely YouTube and Twitter shows. I may be popping up other places, so keep your eye on the Twitter machines.
Hell yeah. You got something going on with the NBA, right?
Yeah, I'll be covering the Washington Wizards for Fantasy Pros. So if you like really bad Eastern Conference basketball, go ahead and give me a follow, and I'll give you all the most pressing Wizards updates that we have. It will exclude Brad Beal's vaccination status because we're not going to go
there. All right, Thomas, what you got, man?
Shout out Gilbert Arenas. Look, you can find me Tuesday Fantasy Walkabout. You can find me Friday at the Full Tilt Dynasty podcast. You can catch me Sunday mornings with Chase, so I can give you horrific start and sit advice if you go by what I said today. And then you can catch me here every even week here with Chase and Jordan doing this Chase and points, annoying Tyler with my Baker Mayfield, he's trash kid stuff. And of course, you can find my work with Trophy Smack, Fantasy Intervention, and Dynasty Vipers. So do that. Even on TikTok over there, Thomas Tipple FF. I'm all over the place.
Dude,
y'all are gonna get tired.
You're gonna launch your TikTok. You're gonna launch your TikTok. TikTok
Enunciation. So
I don't know. What are you sipping on over there, Chase? Gasoline?
Maybe a little bit. TikTok. You're launching your TikTok. It's called TikTok. All right, we're going TikTok.
Flip.
Anyways, y'all can go check us out over there at Fantasy Intervention. And of course, thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you all for letting us intervene with your fantasy football life. We're out.
All right, later.